What's up, fellas? My name is Tucker. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Miami Heat. If you enjoy the video, leave a like rating on it. Check out my socials up there as well. Let's go ahead and get started. So the Miami Heat, are they now contenders after their offseason? Now, some of you might be saying, well, they've been contenders this entire time because, believe it or not, 10 months ago, the Miami Heat were in the finals playing the LA Lakers. 10 months ago. That's going to be a fun little trivia fact here in a couple of years when people forget that all this stuff happened. They're really not that far removed from a really special and impressive run to the finals. And so a lot of people would be saying, well, of course they're contenders. They're still a team that's going to be near the top of the Eastern Conference. But the question is, are they even a top 4 team in the East right now, especially based off of how they played last season? You have the defending NBA champions, the Milwaukee Bucks, who are going to be on an entirely different level next year with that championship level confidence. You've got the Nets that, of course, are around. The Sixers are looming with whatever they do with Ben Simmons. Nobody has any idea what the Celtics are, but there's certainly talent there with Tatum and Brown. And the Atlanta Hawks, by the way, made the conference finals last year. So that question of, are they contenders? Are they a top 4 team in the East next year? That's what we're going to be talking about in the video, but they're certainly trying to be with the offseason that they had. They had the sign and trade for Kyle Lowry. They give up Goran Dragic and Precious Achiuwa. They re-sign Jimmy Butler to a big extension. They re-sign Duncan Robinson to a big extension. They bring in PJ Tucker, Markieff Morris, Dwayne Dedmon, a handful of other young guys. And interestingly, and a bit under the radar, they signed Victor Oladipo to a 1-year deal to come back to the team as well. So they certainly made plenty of moves this offseason to try and be the contenders that we're referring to. However, they have lost a couple of really critical players from that finals run. Goran Dragic, Andre Iguodala, Jay Crowder last offseason. All 3 of those guys are gone. They all played critical roles. And as we look at their roster going into the season, as of right now, it's certainly an interesting one. With the guards, we have Lowry, Robinson, Tyler Hero, and Victor Oladipo. Certainly not a bad group at all. On the wings, Jimmy Butler, PJ Tucker, Markieff Morrison with the bigs, Bam Adebayo, and Dwayne Dedmon. There's obviously other guys on the roster, but that's kind of a snapshot of the 8-ish man rotation they could potentially have going into the postseason, assuming there aren't any trades. Now, the Lowry addition is interesting because he's a perfect fit alongside Jimmy Butler, because what's the one thing that Jimmy Butler doesn't do consistently? Outside shooting. Kyle Lowry can help him with that. He can be a good outside shooter for this group, provide spacing, and take some of that playmaking burden away from Jimmy Butler. Jimmy Butler can be a very good playmaker, but he's not someone that you want to be doing that for you the entirety of the season. And Lowry, assumedly at this point, despite his age, is someone that is durable enough to still be a full-time starter in the league, which is something that was questionable for Goran Dragic the last couple of years, and they really had to move him to the bench, which kind of screwed up some of their other rotational stuff. So I do really like the addition of Lowry. He's a championship-proven player, a playoff player for sure. It's just the age and potentially some durability issues that would concern you with Lowry, but there's a reason why half the league wanted to try and sign this guy in free agency. Interestingly as well, essentially moving Dragic and Precious Achiuwa into Kyle Lowry, and then Kyle Lowry becoming a starter, allows for Tyler Hero to move into a full-time 6-man role, which is probably the best case scenario for him at this point in his career. Again, Dragic was kind of stepping on his toes a little bit with that, but that should allow Hero not only to play better and feel more comfortable in that role, but also potentially raise his trade value, which we'll talk about throughout the rest of the video. Things that would make me nervous, though, they're going to rely a shocking amount on PJ Tucker and Markieff Morris on the wings, especially defensively. Obviously, Jimmy Butler can defend well. Lowry is a good defender. I think for the most part within this lineup, they're going to be able to defend decently. But like when it comes to who's going to defend Giannis, like you're going to put Bam out there on him. When it comes to defending some of the better wings in the league, is PJ Tucker going to guard those guys? Is Markieff Morris going to have a shot? Not as much flexibility and, more importantly, youth on the wings as you would like to have. But of course, at the big spots, Bam's going to be awesome. He looked really good for Team USA. This is a very, very good roster. But the wild card here to me, outside of the Tyler Hero stuff, which we'll talk about trade possibilities in a second, is Victor Oladipo. It's been a very weird 2 years for Oladipo, to the point where nobody was paying attention to his free agency whatsoever. He signs the 1-year deal. He's trying to get a bigger deal next offseason. But, from being traded from Indiana to then being traded from Houston to now being re-signed on a 1-year deal in Miami, it's just been very, very weird. But if Oladipo can find a way to be healthy and be a productive NBA player, I'm not saying he's going to get back to all-NBA caliber Victor Oladipo, but just having him kind of lingering on this roster is a very, very interesting wrinkle and a potential ceiling raiser for this group, because we know he can be a really good defender. We know he can be someone that can get to the rim and be a perimeter playmaker. But with the amount of lower body injury stuff that he's had to go through for the last couple of years, it's unlikely that he's ever going to return to that. But it's not a bad guy to just kind of have there, where if he does step it up, if he does get healthy and become a significant part of the team, it changes everything really for Miami's season. And then, of course, you have the flexibility of possible Tyler Hero trades as well. It's a guy that's been involved in trade rumors for basically the entirety of his career. And I think we've gotten a better understanding now of what the value of Tyler Hero truly is. He's not the centerpiece of a James Harden trade, but he is a good young player. He is an interesting player, and he did play incredibly well in the postseason when they went on that run. And he still has the talent to get better this offseason and to raise his value in a way that would either help the Heat on the court, as in that six-man role, or in a possible trade. Again, you'd be looking ideally for someone on the wing that can defend and can shoot at a higher level than what Tyler Hero can do, and can kind of be inserted into that starting lineup as a guy that's going to be able to be that versatile front court player that this team desperately needs. And so Miami has a lot of different options here. There's a lot of different ways that things can go right for them. Bam can level up again. JB and Lowry can fit really well together. Tyler Hero can play well. They can trade Hero. Oladipo could potentially be something. There's a lot of potential ceiling-raising things for Miami, but the one thing that I'm looking at above all else is health and durability, because some of the guys that they're going to be counting on are older players. Duncan Robinson's not old, Bam Adebayo's not old, Tyler Hero's not old, but you've got guys with durability issues like Oladipo, or that are just getting older, like Jimmy Butler, like Kyle Lowry, and if those guys aren't fully healthy, their season is probably not going to go the way that they would like for it to. When it comes to, are they contenders? Where do they sit in the Eastern Conference? For me, I'm basically just at Milwaukee's at the top, Brooklyn's at the top. Everybody else is TBD right now in the East. If you want to tell me the Hawks are the third seed next year, cool. If you want to tell me Boston is way better this year for whatever reason, they just figure out the roster and just a new coach and new voice, cool. If you want to tell me that Philly is a true threat with or without a Ben Simmons trade, okay, that's fine too. I would believe all of these things. The only things I know about the East right now is I feel confident that when fully healthy, the Bucks and the Nets are going to be at or near the top. With this Heat team, there are certainly some issues with the roster construction, and there are some issues potentially with durability and with age. But this offseason has put them in a position to really be a true threat this year. And considering how their season ended and where their season ended, especially compared to a year ago, they did a fantastic job of positioning themselves well in the offseason. They did very typical Miami Heat stuff, right? They made moves that other people did not expect them to be able to make. They leveraged their versatility in ways that other teams would not have been able to, and have positioned themselves to be at least an interesting team, and worst case, a team that nobody really would want to play once the postseason rolls around. And that's exactly where they were positioned when they made their run to the 2020 NBA Finals. So I'm not saying that Miami is going to make a finals run, but I am saying that they had a really productive and an interesting offseason. There's no guarantee that it's all going to work. You could make the argument that they should have just kept Dragic, that they should have kept Precious Achiuwa, that has now limited their depth, turning two players into one, and that the upgrade from Dragic to Lowry is not that significant. You could certainly make that argument. There's no guarantee that any of these moves are going to work, but I like what Miami did, and I respect and I appreciate the aggressiveness of what they did. So in terms of what to expect out of them this season, I've got them somewhere within the top 5 in the East this year. No idea how that's going to shake out, but I've got them somewhere within the top 5 with the possibility to move up depending on how Oladipo plays, and importantly, the Tyler Hero trade stuff. Now, interestingly and importantly, they don't have access to all their future firsts. I think the first future first they can trade is either 24 or 25. They don't have access to all their future ones. So I don't think that this is going to be like a Bradley Beal trade destination, nor really should it be. That's not really what they need. They need a front court player at the combo 3-4 spot that can help them defend, shoot, and be a complementary option at a much higher level. I don't know if that player is going to be available, or if you would even want to trade Hero and some other stuff to go and get that player. But when you look at the roster, that's very clearly what they need. So Miami is going to be a team to keep an eye on for the entirety of the season. How's Lowry and the Jimmy Butler fit coming together? How healthy are these guys? Has Bam taken a step up after a strong showing with Team USA? Has Tyler Hero adjusted to what's probably going to be a bench role this upcoming season? Is Duncan Robinson still one of the better shooters in the league? How have these depth additions of PJ Tucker and Dwayne Dedmon, how have those guys helped out this roster? Do they look like strong contributors as well? It's going to be a Miami team that, honestly, I'm fascinated by. Amongst a ton of different teams that are interesting in the Eastern Conference, they're potentially at the top of the list because they just continue to do Miami Heat things with this roster, and we'll see what they do with it throughout the rest of this year, because it seems like they're done now with their offseason. But that is going to be the end of today's video, and I thank you guys very much for watching. Once again, my name is Tucker. If you missed any of my previous videos, be sure to check out the boxes on screen. Check out my socials at the top of the screen as well. And yeah, hope you guys have an awesome rest of your day, and I will see you all next time.